People who wait to get their stuff together the minute you're ready to walk away from the relationship are extremely manipulative. Hi, my name is Dr. Natalie Jones. I have been working in a counseling practice for several years now and working with people who have experienced abuse in their relationships as well as perpetrators of abuse. And one of the things that abusive people will do is they will play dumb, like they don't get it. So when you try to work with them about, try to communicate, you try to continuously talk to them about problems in the relationship, you try to work things out, you try to compromise, you try to, just talk about problems and really get to a better space with your partner. And your partner is sort of, they don't get it, they refuse to cooperate, they won't even sit down to talk. They give you the silent treatment. They walk out of arguments. They don't show up when you ask them to show up. They refuse to give you the bare minimum. And naturally, after a period of time of enduring this, you would naturally want to walk away. And then, here comes your partner. They're not ready for you to leave. They certainly want to work things out. Now, without you having to tell them, they can bring you flowers, they can show up for Valentine's Day, they can show up for your birthday, they can be romantic, they can talk about problems, they can share their feelings. But here's the caveat. People who do that are not normally able to do that for a long period of time. They're not able to sustain it. So while they may, want to autocorrect, right, to get you to stay right where you're at and not leave and not walk out that door, they're not able to, and they're not willing to do the work to sustain that behavior. Even if they're talking about like going to therapy, usually therapy is like, that's usually when I used to do couples therapy years ago, that would normally be the situation. Women would call and they want to do therapy because they're on the brink of divorce, right? They're on the brink of leaving their husband, and all of a sudden their husband wants to do it. And what would typically happen is they would sort of stick around for 1 to maybe 3 sessions. And then their husband would be like, I don't want to do it. And so the women would end up showing up by themselves, right? Because their husband's like, I fulfilled my obligation. I've showed you that I've changed and I don't want to do it anymore. And so I don't feel like I'm obligated to do it. And then they would manipulate, they would gaslight and say, oh, well, you're the problem anyway, so you need to go. And so it would ultimately end up being her just doing therapy alone. And again, I'm not saying that all women are going through this or all men are doing this, but I'm just telling you what my experience was in my practice. And I don't do couples therapy anymore. That was years ago when I used to do that. But yeah, that was kind of the condition. Like, I'll show up and make an effort for like a few sessions, and then I'm back out doing the same old stuff, and I don't care. Or if husbands would come to therapy, a lot of them would come on their own, and then you could tell when things got back right in the relationship, right? Because then they quit. It was like, okay, I have met the minimum requirements. I have, stuck in and made an effort for this long. I don't feel like I need it anymore. I've shown my partner, my wife, everything she needed to see, and I don't want to stick it out anymore. I'm gone. Bye. And so, just remember that, people that are doing this are yo-yoing around. They're not serious about making real bona fide change in 99% of cases. And if they are committed to doing the change, they need to do the work independently and with you. So they need to be doing their own independent therapy and their own couples therapy, and they need to maintain that. I would say, especially if the behaviors are extremely problematic, they need to maintain that for a longer period of time to show that they are committed. And it needs to be without prompting, without you having to fuss and fight and argue. But if they only straighten up when you're getting ready to leave, then that really ought to that ought to be a cue to you to really piss you off, because that means that that person has known what to do this whole entire time and chosen not to, simply because they didn't want to put forth the effort towards the relationship, and they're willing to compromise your feelings and this relationship all the way until basically the end, and then try to hurry up and put in a little bit of effort. So do with that information what you will, but I'm of the belief that I think that if we're grown, we're adults, people know that they have challenges, or even if you learn about challenges in the relationship, is the adult's responsibility to do their own work. It's their responsibility to, make the effort on their own, make their own appointments, go fix their own problems. And there's more than enough therapy resources and things out there like that now, where people can call and schedule an appointment, see someone virtually and things like that. But, people should know how to treat you decently the first time around. And that's my belief. And men, I wish someone had told me that years ago. I spent many years in my 20s with people that were just messing about and had no real intentions of commitment. And so relationships like that are typically a roller coaster, and it usually ends with the partner that's poured into it, doing most of the work, and feeling very angry, feeling very resentful, and feeling very hurt, and wasting a lot of years on someone who just at the end of the day doesn't give enough of a damn to make a consistent effort.